We human beings like to think that we are very logical, but the truth is we are emotional creatures and we justify our emotions with logic. For the vast majority of the world, this means that they are unknowingly hypnotized to believe things that hold them back. But you can actually use this fact consciously in order to rewire yourself to see opportunity and to make more money. I am fascinated with confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is that we see what we believe. If we believe something, we tend to go out and find more evidence of it. We see this in pretty much every culture and every belief system. If you believe that Democrats are evil, everything that you see on Fox News, you will take at face value. If you believe that President Trump is racist, you will see everything that he does as some sort of racist dog whistle. All of us are subject to this because it's how the brain works. Our brains see the world not through logic, but through story. And when you know that your brain is actually interpreting a story, you can interrupt it and start to change the story that it sees so that you can wire yourself to see and act out what you want to be true. Most people believe that they go through life collecting data and learning more and getting wiser and smarter and coming to better and better conclusions as they go. But because of confirmation bias, the opposite is true. We tend to have our stories hardwired into us at a very young age, and we go through life collecting more data that actually just strengthens the beliefs that we already have. Most people never poke holes in their own arguments. They rarely change political parties. They rarely change religions. Most people don't even change their diet. This is why you can have the carnivore cookbook next to the vegan diet on the shelves of Barnes & Noble, and both of them can be bestsellers, because we tend to gravitate towards what we want to be true. It's a very rare skill to go through life questioning our own assumptions, questioning our own stories, and trying to find where we might be wrong. Instead, we tend to go through life trying to find where we are right and then judging the people who disagree with us. But you can use all of this to your advantage. When you know that the brain works in stories, you can start to peel back the curtain and see why you've been doing the things that you've been doing. You can see why you've been procrastinating and starting your business. You can see why you may actually be wired to stay poor instead of pursue opportunities. And you can begin to tell a different story to your brain and to your body and hardwire yourself differently to change the results that you're getting. Here are a few ways that you can consciously choose your stories so that you rewire your beliefs to give you the outcome that you want. The first is through preframing. There is a psychological trigger called preframing in which the brain looks for what it's been told to look for. This is used all the time on the news. You will see a headline come up and then a video clip will be played, and you will interpret the clip that has been played based on the headline that has been shown to you. The same clip will be showed on CNN versus Fox News, and those groups will have completely different interpretations of what they've been shown because the headline was different. The way that you can use preframing to your advantage is to tell the brain what it is going to see, and then your brain will start to look for that. Your brain will look for whatever it is prompted with, and if you preframe it with what you want it to find that day, that year, or in that specific situation, it will filter through all of the data that is happening, and it will create that story on your behalf. You can use this consciously by saying, I'm going to look for more opportunity. And then every time something happens, simply look for the opportunity that is in that. Your brain will find it, even if at first it can't find any way to make it a positive outcome. You are going through life collecting all of this data about business and money and politics and people and relationships, and it will give you the output based on the questions that you ask it. And you can do this until you have a belief that is ingrained into you and a habit that is natural to you to look for that input automatically. And that will change the way that you show up, the actions that you take, and the results that you ultimately get. The second way that you can use this is by rewriting old stories. There's a trick used in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, where you can rewrite your past. Your past is just a set of circumstances that happened, but the way it affects us is how we're playing that story over and over and over again, and the emotional experience that we have when we think about it. But you can rewrite that, and I like to do this in a journal by simply rewriting my past. And the way that I usually start this is by saying, I remember when I used to think that X. That way, I'm actually framing that old belief in the past, which assumes that we're seeing it differently now. Then I'll follow this up by saying, that all changed when I did that stupid journal exercise that Ryan Daniel Moran told me to do in that YouTube video that I watched until the end. I subscribed to the channel and hit the like button because I liked that video so much. That gives the brain a moment in which everything changed. Then you cast it into the future by writing down, after I made that change, this happened and this happened and this happened. And as soon as you rewrite that story, the brain interprets that past event differently and is now pre-framed to look for different data in order to support a different story. The third way to use this to your advantage is by thinking about the brain like a sponge. The brain is constantly looking at all the information around it, which is the things that it listens to, the people that it hangs out with, even the things that it reads on a screen, and it is making sense of it all because it's a story-making machine. If you think about the brain like a sponge, then its job is to take all of that and keep it into the sponge. And it's making sense about this sponge in the form of a story. So you can change how the brain is making a story by changing the inputs. That means that if you surround yourself with podcasts, YouTube videos, and your own network of people who believe a certain thing, you will naturally start to adopt those beliefs because your brain is a sponge. If you start hanging out with Christians, you will adopt Christian values. If you hang out with millionaires, you will adopt millionaire beliefs. If you hang out with vegetarians, eventually you'll start to say, am I an asshole for eating this piece of steak? It will naturally happen. So you might as well do it consciously. If you aren't getting the results that you want in your life, it's because of the inputs in your brain. It's the stories that you believe, it's the people you hang out with, and it's the things that you're practicing over and over and over in your mind. It's really hard to change a behavior if you haven't changed the story in your mind. This is why you can adopt all kinds of new information and still be a procrastinator, because you haven't changed the stories that you're telling yourself. You just have different information that you're interpreting through the exact same stories that you've had for your entire life. Once you rewire the stories, which starts by you realizing that you are not as logical as you think you are, and that you're a story-making machine, and you can start to tell a different story, that's when you actually have control over your beliefs and the outputs that you create based on what the body and the brain is processing. Unfortunately, I cannot do that work for you. I can teach you how to build million-dollar businesses. And if you want some help, I have a new free course available at capitalism.com/million. It's called The Road to 1 Million. I have built this free course based on this philosophy of the more that you surround yourself with stories and beliefs and people, that your brain will change to match them. And so I've created this 30-day free course to help rewire the stories, the beliefs, and the information in order to put you on the road to 1 million. So go over to capitalism.com/million. It's a free course, and you will go through a 30-day sequence to start to rewire these beliefs and start to rewire your actions and the people you hang out with in order to put you on a path to creating $1 million net worth. I'm Ryan Daniel Moran with capitalism.com. If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.